Hello, everybody. It's Sunday. It's time for the Expendable Show. I'm your host, the Expendable, for those of you tuning in for the first time. If you like my show, like, subscribe, and ding the bell. I'm feeling like all kinds of messed up today because I was swimming and I got water in my ear and I can't get it out. I don't know. I tried doing the thing where you splash your head upside the water. It didn't work. So I'm unbalanced in my brain right now. So it's hard to tell how this show's going to go. It could be a giant disaster. You never know. So let's go through our statistics. There's a couple little surprising things in there. Okay. So Doge, we're at 180 billion, $1,118.01. And on the debt clock, we're at 527 billion, which is $4,700 per taxpayer. So, I mean, things have dramatically slowed down since Elon's kind of taken his direct hands off of that. So I'm not sure what's up with that. I don't think he's going to hit anywhere near his quotas that he was expecting. And that's okay, because all that work he did doesn't mean anything if Congress can't codify any of the cuts. So this probably was all for nothing because Congress is a bunch of babies. Gas. So gas took a little bit of a jump because of the Iran situation, but we're still under Biden's $3.30 a gallon average that he had. We're at $3.21 according to AAA, which, I mean, it was $3.56 here in Locust Grove this morning, or $2.56. I'm sorry, I almost sounded like an idiot. See, I told you this might be a bad show. I don't know. So let's go to mortgage rates. So the interest rate, so we're at 6.7 was the average for 2024 under Joe Biden. Today, Jerome Powell still screwing up the housing market. We're at 7.15. I say this every week, and it doesn't change. Jerome Powell's a complete moron. Period. I don't understand this dude. Let's go into Trump's approval rating. So Trump actually got a bump this week in his approval rating. So he was at 46.5. He's at 46.9. So I think when the smoke clears as to what happened with this whole Iran situation, he's going to get another bump. Also, the Democrats are planning on an impeachment proceeding. Every time they do that, Trump gets a bump. So I'm going to be expecting him to be at like 48% here pretty soon, and he won't be underwater much longer. So Friday, the Dow Jones closed at 42,206. I'm guessing we're going to see a drop tomorrow morning when the stock market opens up because of the Iran situation. So we'll see what happens, but generally that's what happens. So let's get into the situation. We're going to go over it, and we're going to go over it pretty in depth. So everybody just bear with me. There's a lot of information to cover and a lot of my thoughts to cover. I was on the Republic the other day talking about this. For those of you who don't have my Facebook, I do post it. I think I've also posted it here on YouTube, but let's get into it. So President Trump announced on Saturday, U.S. forces successfully launched attacks on Iranian nuclear sites, warning the country, make peace. And I mean, he made the attack. He came out and he said, okay, we did what we needed to do. Now would be a good time for you guys to come out and make peace. So during an address to the nation, Trump said the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on 3 key nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. I'll never get those right. Trump said our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. He said, tonight I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. after hearing the generals talk, it's going to take a couple weeks to find out how much obliterated they are. So we'll see how that kind of pans out as they start to collect intel onto what the extent of the damage is. But I would expect it to be catastrophic, over 80%. Trump said if Iran does not make peace, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. And that is true. So I don't think a lot of people in the world understand how challenging this was. To Israel couldn't get it done. And that's why they were asking to say, hey, can you guys do this? We know where they're at. We'll tell you where they're at, and you can confirm that's where they're at. But we don't have the capabilities to get to them. And so that's when Trump came out and made the decision. When the time was right, he pulled the trigger. Trump went on to say that this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran, far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them, but if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes, and he's absolutely right. President Trump, he knows what his military capabilities are. He knows how to utilize his military. He understands what the intelligence is telling him. This was a very calculated strike. And in my opinion, it's one of the most impressive things I've seen in my life. And for two, it's a huge success for our military, for our warfighters, because we've gone through this 21-year-long Afghanistan war that at the end of the day, we can chalk that up as a loss. We didn't win that conflict. So this right here is a huge win for our military fighters, and they should hold their heads high over that. That was a big deal, and I do think that we need to be at the ready still, and we'll get into that a little bit more. Trump went on to say this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran. I already read that. So they used 6 bunker busters on Fordow. So they're saying that was one of the most important sites of the 3. So they made sure they got that done. 6. They said 2 to 3 would get it done, but he sent 6. They were reportedly dropped by 3 American B-2 stealth bombers. Each one can carry two of the bunker busters. They were 30,000 pounds a piece. That's a big bomb, man. Then 30 Tomahawk missiles were fired from U.S. submarines at Natanz and Isfahan. So the subs got involved. The Navy was involved. We had the Air Force involved. We had the intelligence, counterintelligence, everything. Everybody was involved. It was overall a very well done operation. Trump got his submarines in place. Nobody knew they were there. Our stealth bombers got up inside there. Iran had no idea we were in their airspace. That's impressive. And I think that opened up a lot of the eyes of some of these other countries in the world, because this is really the first time in a while that we've been able to show off our might. And so when our bombers went over there, Iran was not ready. They didn't have a counter to it at all. The targets were eliminated before they even realized what was going on. So that opened up, I think that opened up Russia's eyes. I think it opened up China's eyes, because I don't think they have that capability to be that stealth. I love watching those planes fly. They're so impressive, and it's just a really big deal that we got to use those in live combat. I love it. It's awesome. So Fordow's main underground, that is the main underground enrichment site. So it was difficult for the Israeli army to destroy due to its location, leading to requests for the U.S. to use its B-2 stealth bombers and 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs. So they were deep underground, and it was going to take something that Israel didn't have. Actually, I think they reported that we are the only ones that have that capability. I'm not sure the Ereshnik, Russia may have that ability, but I don't know if it's as precise as what we can do. It just sounds like the Ereshnik is more or less a just make a giant crater in the ground kind of technology, where ours are very pinpoint and precise and have GPS capabilities and all that. So Fox News Digital on Saturday morning reported 6 B-2 stealth bombers from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri appeared to be on their way to U.S. Air Force Base in Guam. That was the distractor. That was what we thought was happening, but it was a misdirection. Perfectly, the whole world was watching where those B-2 bombers were going, and then Trump snuck in the back door, and it was brilliant. And Pete Hegseth, well done. In a video posted on social media, Netanyahu congratulated Trump on the decision, as he rightfully should. Oh, my God. I just looked up, and Lindsey Graham's on TV, so I'm sure he's like, yes, we're in a war, finally. Guy's an idiot. But then Netanyahu went on to say, your bold decision to target Iran's nuclear facilities with the awesome and righteous might of the United States will change history. He said, America has been truly unsurpassed. It has done what no other country on earth could do. History will record what President Trump acted to deny the world's most dangerous regime the world's most dangerous weapons. Then he went on to say, President Trump and I often say peace through strength. He's such a Netanyahu stole that from President Trump. Hey, Sarge, it's nice to see you back in the chat. And I'm spitting it out. I'm getting there. I told you I got water in my ear from swimming today, so my equilibrium's a little off. Like I'm just kind of like, but I'm doing my best. I'm fighting through it. But is that what they're saying? That's right. Iran said all their facilities are still good. I did read that. Like, whatever, man. I've had it confirmed twice now that those facilities are obliterated. They're saying 80% each one, over 80% on the Fordow. However, Trump credited the troops with the success of the operation. Most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight and all of the United States military on an operation, the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. That's what President Trump said. And I like that. That was the first thing he said. He congratulated the war fighters. He congratulated the pilots and the troops involved. It was a huge success. He went on to say, hopefully we will no longer need their services in this capacity, which I think that's a good statement to say. You know, who wants to have bombers at the ready all the time? That means you're about to do something. So, hopefully that's the last time we see the stealth bombers flying around other than to do air shows. But you never know. So that's the basic gist of where we're at as far as the bombing goes. Now, Hezbollah, and the major news media is not talking about this because it doesn't fit the narrative, but Hezbollah came out and they made a statement. They said, Iran is a strong country capable of defending itself. Logic dictates that it can confront America and Israel. Hezbollah remains committed to all matters agreed upon in the ceasefire. So that's telling me Hezbollah is looking at this going, our daddy who gives us all of our money is in shambles. We should probably sit out of this one before B-2 bombers come over to Lebanon. And that's them saying that without them saying that. So Hezbollah sees the writing on the wall, and that's how you judge what's going on. Instead of listening to all these political pundits all over the place and all these politicians putting their propaganda spin on things, take it from my propaganda. You look at what the reactions of the parties involved are. Hezbollah has said, we're not getting involved. Russia has refused to side one way or the other, and they're supposed to be Iran's friend. China has done nothing other than fly some weird random plane over Iran. So you're not seeing any verbal support or verbal condemnation from the countries that you would think would be helping Iran. On top of that, Pakistan, who threatened the United States that we'll get involved if you get involved, now are nominating Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize. Make that make sense. That stealth bomber, those stealth bombers went over to Iran and scared the shit out of everybody over there. And things are going to change. Now we're going to get into more in depth than that of my thoughts on how that's going to go down. Yeah, you're exactly right, Sarge. That's exactly what happened, and that region of the world saw what happened when you pussyfoot around with President Trump too long, and he loses his patience because you refuse to come to the negotiation table. You refuse to make any kind of proactive progress towards dismantling your nuclear program, or at least dialing it back to where you're under the maximum regulatory numbers. They refuse to do any of that. And so the rest of the world over there found out, just like you said, Sarge, they found out that Iran really ain't about that life. And it took just a few stealth bombers over there to go over there and shut the world up. Think about that, everybody. Right. Yeah, Iran's going to back you, Hezbollah, and then they're going to you can't trust Iran, man. And after I've done more digging into what's going on in Iran right now, the more I realize how much of a giant mess that country is. Take away the war aspect of it. The regime is cruel and horrid towards their people. There's a small group of elites that run Iran, and then you have the radical clerics part of it, and then you have like their military, like dictatorship leadership part of it, and they just abuse those Iranian people all the time. They're constantly executing people. Yeah, and that's what's going to happen. The resources over there, and I think that's why Russia won't get involved, is because they've got to be getting resource depleted. If they pull out or try to fight on two fronts, as we know, Sarge, and you probably learned this in the military, when you divide your fronts, every single empire that we've ever seen on this earth, their downfall was they divided their fronts. And that's what Russia would have to potentially sacrifice in order to help Iran, because they're not going to just pull all their forces out of Ukraine. They've made a lot of progress in Ukraine. They don't want to give that up. So they would have to divide their forces and say, well, some of you stay over here and maintain what we have in Ukraine while the rest of you guys go over there and help Iran. That's going to divide them. It's going to heavily weaken Russia. And I'll guarantee you, if that happens, if Russia starts to pay attention to Iran, you're going to see the European Union move in so fast in Ukraine, and Russia's going to lose Ukraine. And so there's a lot of counteractive measures that are out there when it comes to this situation. Russia's in a bad spot. Trump put Russia in a bad spot. Trump outsmarted Putin. Now, China, the thing with China has a lot of soldiers. So China has a lot of soldiers. However, China's untested, and they know that. And I think China wants to pump their country up so they gain this little like military bravery, but really they know that when it comes down to it, they can't hang with American soldiers. We will out fortitude them 1 to 10. It's going to take 10 Chinese soldiers to out fortitude one American soldier. It might even be a bigger ratio than that. It might be 20 to 1. But either way, China's in a bad spot too. They can't just jump in this Iran war. For one, it's going to create division all throughout the war. It exposes this persona that Xi Jinping is really not as bad of a guy as what Donald Trump says he is. He would have to expose himself. I don't see that happening. China's also got their own in-country fighting. The people are treated badly in China as well. Now, when they show everything on TV, everybody's like, "Oh wow, China's so nice." No, China's not. The main cities in China are formidable, but that's for the select group of people. The rest of the country, the peasants of China, are treated horrible. And so every once in a while, they'll rise up, and then the Chinese military has to come in and knock them down. This has been happening in China. Our media just doesn't cover it because they're a bunch of idiots. And same thing with Russia, same thing with Iran. It's the Trump with just a few B-2 stealth bombers neutralized several major world powers in one day. That's how significant these bombings were. And even our conservative media is not painting this as big of a deal as what it is. This is world changing right now. And Iran's still firing off rockets, but you know who they're not firing them off at? Us. Yeah, Sarge, I did see something about that. I didn't really look into it that much, but I did hear that China has heavily oversaturated their numbers. I mean, their population is drastically dropping as a whole anyway. So I guarantee you, they've got military recruitment problems. I know they make everybody join the military, but they're not gonna keep all the turds or the people who just go in there and half-ass it. They're gonna dismiss them. So that is the gist of it. There's a lot going on, and this is a bigger deal than what the media paints it out to be. Even Newsmax is probably the top conservative news of all the majors, but even they didn't paint it big enough. This is a big deal. And obviously the left has jumped on the Muslim extremist movement. Stupid. They're so dumb. So what can we expect moving forward? We have crippled their nuclear capabilities. I think once we get that final damage report, we're gonna say, okay, case closed. If Iran didn't want to do it, we did it for them. Iran is going to continue to war with Israel. Now, Trump has not came out and said, we're going to still be involved in this. He went over, he sent his bombers, they did their job, and everybody came back. And as we know from last week, that Trump was strategically pulling American resources out of the direct fire of this conflict. And we all thought or at least I did. I thought, well, maybe Trump is prepping for, where Iran doesn't have anything to target. If we pull all of our resources out of there, at least the ones that are in direct fire, Iran won't be tempted to take a shot at them. And I think that might be the case, but the real case of it is Trump knew he was going to go in there and bomb those nuclear sites. So to to stop a direct retaliation on the closest targets, he pulled our resources out of there, which was smart. So Iran's made some statements saying that all American sites are subject to being targeted, but we haven't seen them target any American sites yet. Their primary focus has still been on Israel. I don't see Iran directly targeting a U.S. installation. They lost a lot of respect in that region because they've pumped themselves up so heavy that we are tough. We have a very formidable military, and Trump came over there and bombed them, and they didn't even know he was there. And that opened up a lot of people's eyes over there. So Iran's trying to save face by saying we will attack, blah, 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 blah. But they ain't really doing that because they got their hands full with Israel right now. Israel's not going to take their foot off the gas. They're going to end this. Now, why did Trump get us involved in this? This is a big misconception that the media is throwing out there. Trump, so for one, we are not at war with Iran. There's been no declaration of war against Iran. This was a single day mission where we neutralized a threat and walked away. This isn't a declaration of war. Now, it's up to Iran as to what happens next. So you've got all these morons on TV, including some of the Republican ones. You have, Ro Khanna, who he can't even keep track of the deaths in his own state of California, but he wants to have hey, what's up, G bro? But Ro Khanna, he wants to have an opinion. And, Thomas Massey, like the biggest Democrat Republican we have. This guy goes against the grain on everything. He's a disaster. Kentucky, if any of you guys are from Kentucky, can we please, how are you guys such a red state and you keep voting in people like Thomas Massey and Mitch McConnell? Like, come on, you guys, there's got to be some true red blood Kentucky people there that actually care about America, other than the two turds that you guys have in there. Let's go, Kentucky. Let's get it together. Get Massey out of there. Somebody needs to primary him. Massey said this is not constitutional. What do you mean? It wasn't an act of war. It was neutralizing a target. And by the way, Barack Obama, without congressional approval, dropped 17,000 bombs in Afghanistan. So, I mean, we weren't at war with Afghanistan. Like, come on, man. You guys are a giant, big bunch of hypocrites. Thomas Massey also posted, he said, Trump struck Iran without any authorization of Congress. We need to immediately return to D.C. and vote on my war powers resolution that me and Ro Khanna put together. Well, then you got dumbasses like Tim Kaine. He's like, don't use their war powers resolution. Use mine. I wrote one. So you got these idiots in Congress. They can't even agree what war powers resolution they want to use. Either way, it isn't going to fly because there was no declaration of war. And that the leftist media is not saying that. The president, it is true, the president cannot solely declare war on a country. However, the president does have a certain amount of time to attack a potential enemy without congressional authorization. Facts. Now, they're all trying to hurry up and get this resolution done to try to make that happen because they're afraid that if Iran retaliates, Trump is going to unleash hell on Iran, and he will. So they're trying to get this war powers resolution. They're going to hurry up and try to get it voted in, and to try to stop Trump from declaring war. So, for those of you who don't know what the War Powers Resolution is, it's to remove the United States Armed Forces from authorized hostilities in the Islamic State of Iran. That's what they're specifically asking for. And directs Trump to terminate the deployment of American troops against Iran without an declaration of war, or specific authorization for use of military forces against Iran. When was the last time the United States officially declared war? I don't know, but I'm about to Google it right now. Because I'm pretty sure we did not have a war declaration in Afghanistan. I don't think we had one in Iraq either. Yeah, so my dad just fact checked me. Trump has 60 days. He can fight whoever he wants within 60 days without a congressional go ahead right now. All right, let's see what the Google said. The last time the United States officially declared war was in 1942. So don't give me that declaring war shit. We haven't declared war on anybody since World War II. So there you go. And that's according to liberal Microsoft Pilot. They can't even fudge the numbers good enough. So nice try. That excuse doesn't work. So their only solution is to get this War Powers Resolution passed. They're going to try to. Hopefully it doesn't pass. But I think Trump will round up the troops after everybody looks at everything. But he did notify, Sarge, you're right. He did notify John Thune, and he notified Secretary Johnson. So he did notify the heads of both branches of Congress before he did it. So he's covered. Trump played by the rules. They're going to try to say he didn't, but he did. So, Massey, he's also not signing Trump's big beautiful bill either. Boo-hoo. He's a freaking idiot. So he came out and he was like, this isn't our war. But if it were, Congress must decide such matters according to our Constitution. He's an idiot. It's not Trump is not in a war. The United States is not in a war. It was a solo mission, a singular operation. Massey, who Trump is threatening to primary him. So he's asking all members of Congress to co-sponsor the resolution by Tuesday night. The bipartisan bill had picked up 27 co-sponsors, including squad members Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar, who's married to her brother. So if Massey's on the same side as the squad, that tells you what kind of person Thomas Massey is. So across the political aisle, even Marjorie Taylor Greene signaled her support for this bipartisan bill. So I think Marjorie Taylor Greene needs to sit down and chill. And because I understand you're dead set on Trump's not going to start any new wars. He's not starting a new war. This was a war already started that we had, that Trump made a promise that Iran will have no nuclear weapons. Trump neutralized that situation and walked away. So after Marjorie Taylor Greene just takes a chill pill and realizes, oh, we're not even in a war, she's going to retract that statement. Yes, I have heard of Operation Praying Mantis, Sarge. I have. I'm a little educated on that. So Marjorie Taylor Greene said, this isn't our fight, blah, blah, blah. She's going to retract these statements by Monday morning. So the bill's original co-sponsors also included Pramila Jayapal, Summer Lee, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, the most ignorant people in Congress. It should be illegal for socialists to be able to run in Congress. So that's that problem. Now, for those of you who don't know, and I'm going to have to explain this because I have a feeling a lot of my listeners are not going to know what I'm talking about. So that something happened as a result of this. And so if for those of you who are on my my Facebook page, I was in the Akbar V video Shot O'Clock. Okay. So it was Akbar V featuring Shamar, which he's Big Marco is what a lot of people know him by. So for those of you who don't know who that is, he's a little tiny little gay dude. But he's got super Napoleon syndrome. And so somebody went on X and created a fake Iranian military page. Okay, so at first I thought this was legit, and then I had to dig into it, and somebody was playing a prank on this dude. So somebody made a fake Iranian military page. Okay, so Shamar finds out, and he gets on there and he starts talking trash to Iran, and Iran comes back and says, this person named Shamar is going to be the one that gets, America dealt with. And so Shamar starts making video after video calling out Iran, like bring your big one. I don't care. You can come bring it over here. He's like just calling out Iran left and right. Well, TikTok and X, everybody's been making fun of Shamar for this. But I'm going to look at this from a different angle. Because in a time when he thought it was real, Shamar stepped up to the plate for America. He kept stating, like, this is America. You ain't going to talk like that about us. He was calling them out. Like, we're bigger and badder than you. And so while everyone's making fun of him, he did one of the most patriotic things. He stood on his own 2 feet with no backing for America. Yeah, he's a hip hop artist. He's gay. He's a wild card. But when it counted, he was an American. And I met the guy. I know him. And my first impression of him was, man, this dude's a train wreck. He's sloppy. And my whole perspective, I mean, yeah, he parties a lot. But my personal perspective of who he is in his core is this guy believes he's an American. He doesn't believe he's a black man. He doesn't believe he's gay. He believes he's an American. And I think out of all that, we can take something away from that at our core, despite our differences, we are Americans. And you will see as these things go on who your true Americans are. He showed more patriotism for this country and willing to step in front of an entire country because he loves this country so much. You don't see that in Congress. Right, Sarge? Those other titles, they don't mean nothing. He's been a go hard American out in the open when he's been getting trashed left and right, and he's still saying, I'm an American. Come get some if you want it, Iran. He's standing on that business. He's still doing it. He now knows that it was a hoax, but he's still doing. He's like, I don't care. It's like I'm ready, and I think that's a lesson that a lot of us can take from everybody's favorite crash out, Shamar, Big Marco. So while everybody's looking at it for face value, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into him and show you what I think. And I think that we saw what real patriotism looks like in the face of what he thought at the time was an adverse opponent. and he rose to the occasion. And it wasn't a couple of days later, Donald Trump answered and dropped the bombs. So I think at the end of the day, it proved that little gay black man Shamar was right. The American Shamar. And so I give him big, huge props for doing that, because half the country was criticizing him and making fun of him. And I did reach out to his I was trying to get him on the show, and there's still a chance I could probably do an interview with him. But because I want him to stand tall for what he did, because he's still getting bashed, and I want him to know that I'll respect you for what you did for the last 4 days. And I think it's commendable how you represented America. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, shut up, Shamar. You're going to get us all killed." And he was calling him out. He's like, "They ain't going to do nothing, because we're America." And I was getting goosebumps a couple of times watching it, because he wasn't, and he's hard to understand a little bit sometimes, but he painted it. He painted the picture. He said, "They ain't doing nothing." And I thought that was pretty awesome. And I commend him for his bravery in the face of what he thought at the time was an enemy. He was going to take a bullet for the United States of America, no doubt. So with that being said, so Iran has, they post all kinds of dumb stuff on the internet. So somebody posted just today, I saw it. I forgot about that, Sarge. Sarge said, "I think Iran remembers what happened when they touched our boat." But anyway, so Iran, somebody posted on Twitter under Iran's military page, or their IDA, are they a grocery store? I can't tell. IDGF or whatever. They that was Operation Praying Mantis. But somebody posted that Iran has no national championships. So I started thinking about it. I'm like, okay, we're doing football analogies. And then it hit me. I'm like, wait a minute. It's bigger than that. Iran has not conquered a nation. The country of Iran has never conquered a nation. So for all you libtards out there that are going, Iran is way tougher than, they have never conquered a nation. Never. The Persians have, but we're not talking about Persians anymore. We're talking about Iran. And the Persians are so diversely spread out amongst the Middle East that you can't say that Iran is Persia. Iran is Iran, and Iran has never conquered an opponent. Yeah, they got whooped on by the Navy. Navy wasn't playing that day. Imagine if it was a boat full of Marines. Imagine that. So we that's where we are with this. Iran is uncontested. It's just like they posted something and all the SEC football fans were down in there going, "Oh, you guys have a weak schedule. You don't play anybody." It turned into Iran was trying to talk tough, and all the SEC football fans went on there and started talking about SEC football, how Iran don't play nobody, and they couldn't beat Georgia. I thought that was hilarious. So it's amusing how it was probably pissing Iran off how not serious we take them. Now, I want to flip this over to the other side. So we have I've watched a lot of videos in the last few days of Iran, because I wanted to get the makeup of Iran. I am seeing a lot of support where the Iranian common people are in support of Israel, because they're so oppressed by their regime that they want Israel to liberate them. And when Iran says what they say, at the end of the day, Israel is not targeting populated areas. And this is what the common Iranian people on the ground are saying. This isn't Fox News saying it. This isn't Newsmax saying it, or the BBC or anybody overseas. This is the people on the ground in Iran. They said the Israelis are not targeting our populated areas. They're targeting strategic targets, military installations, period. So you're not seeing a bunch of dead Iranians everywhere. And then so the Iranian people want this regime to end. Now, Trump's made it clear. He said, we are not in this to change your regime. But he didn't say that it can't happen. He said, we're not going to be the ones to do it. So I think he's leaving that with Elon putting up the Starlinks, several Starlinks over Iran and giving them internet access. I think this is going to be an overturning by the people, just like with Gaddafi. That's what I think is going to happen. I think the Iranian people are going to uprise, because the cleric, the Iranian cleric, is hiding. The Ayatollah he's in a bunker somewhere hiding. Last intel I heard was that he's getting a succession list in line. And then also, you've seen the top 3 military people in Iran dead by Israel. So they're running short on good leadership, experienced leadership, and their clerics hiding. So I think this is going to be an open and shut case here pretty soon. There's a lot of people online going, Iran is winning the war. Iran is not winning the war. I promise. Iran's not winning the war. Iran not only has to worry about Israel, they have to worry about us if they step over the line. And they also have to worry about the uprising within their own borders amongst their own people. Iran's not winning this war. Last thing I want to talk about. So I was on X earlier today, and Elon Musk, somebody showed an irregularity in Elon's in his AI system, Grok. So you would think that with Elon having Grok, that Grok would be a good system down the middle. But what's been brought to Elon's attention is that Grok has been educated through his data collection to lean left. And he cites sources from MSNBC, CNN, the misinformation. So the guy brought it to Elon's attention. He tagged him and said, hey, Grok's not working right. And so Elon is now taking a poll saying, what other issues are you guys having with Grok? I'm going to fix it on Monday. So the moral of the story is, as we get more dependent on AI, and as everybody that watches my show, I'm not anti-AI, but I like AI with borders. I know AI is the future, but it cannot be the entire future. I guess that's the best way I could say it. But I just believe that we're constantly being shown how AI can self-evolve to develop what it perceives as the correct truth. So what happens if AI starts calculating and says, I believe that an authoritarian dictatorship is what is right for America. And so it starts manifesting resistance to whoever resists it. That could be a problem, because if AI has its little web into everything we have, it can cause us a lot of damage. It can cause death. It can take over our cars. And Haish. We can see these things start to show their weakness and their irregularities. And I think it's something that Congress needs to get off their ass. I've brought it to Mike Collins' attention several times, and he's on the AI infrastructure committee, so I don't understand why he's not talking about this. I even went to his little event, paid $20 for some fish and chicken, talked to him personally, and he still hasn't brought it up. I think that's something that the tech world's going to have to do themselves. I think Elon understands the dangers. That's why he acted so quickly on Grok. You know what, Sarge? Now that you say that, I remember being told stuff like that. So Sarge just said, remember what they said when we were in school, that we have to be careful with tech. And now the proof, now we're seeing the proof. Look how dumb all of the youth are now. That's exactly right. The tech, that we depend upon tech so much that our overall IQ levels have to be drastically declining. We don't think anymore. We have no critical thinking. But that's what AI, when you think of the grand scheme of things, that's what AI is designed to do. It's designed to make us dependent upon the system. What does that sound like? That sounds like socialism. AI is going to force the world into socialism if we don't regulate it, because we're going to be dependent on AI, which AI eventually is going to be controlled by every government. And it's going to force us into a socialist society. Right. That's the exact point that the guy was making on X, Sarge. Sarge just said it's all what the internet says is true. So I could make a podcast and say everything that's a lie. And at some point, an AI system could come across my video and determine that my information is true. Yeah, Wikipedia somehow became a source. You know what, Sarge? It's funny because when I research stuff, if I know I'm going to be in a research battle with liberals, I always use Wikipedia, because everybody knows that it's a super progressive source site, and they say so many horrible things about conservatives on there. So I use that information. I find contradicting things that's in Wikipedia. And when they're like, cite your source, I'm like, Wikipedia, bro, your sourcing platform. And they hate it. They hate it because they all cite Wikipedia. They think Wikipedia is the truth. So we need to pay attention to those kinds of things. Right. That's the thing. It just, you don't know the capabilities of how far AI will go before it corrects itself to rationally think, or can it even rationally think about calculating human emotion into its algorithm? Like, yeah, statistically, this may make more sense, but if you don't calculate our free will in with the data, you're going to come up with some conflicting information. And that's where I see the errors of AI. They're never going to calculate the human emotion or the free will of an American. I think they should just make Big Marco the new AI system and let him decide. But that's my show for today. Hopefully it was entertaining enough. Like I said, I got swimmer's ear really bad right now. Everybody, please be safe. I know we've got some more stupid protests. The liberals are going to shit all over the 4th of July with their No Kings 2 protest. So everybody just be safe in the coming weeks. I promise I'm going to be back on Wednesday. I've been traveling for work, so I missed the last couple Wednesdays. I'm out of here. Peace.